I come from a fine arts background. I wanted to be an auteur, I wanted to be an artist, I wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to do all these things that were about setting up a project and letting everybody watch. And I think over the years of trying to do that, I felt like the arts is all about breaking you down. I mean, I remember in school the first time that students would bring in large, long pieces that they're working on, and it was just a field day for the professors to break down what they didn't like. Music education, I've discovered, is about bringing things forward. Yeah, there's going to be a degree where somebody says, I don't like that performance, I don't like that aspect, but they're not breaking you down nearly as much. I think that the whole philosophy about music education is it's forward. I began to teach music when a friend of mine's brother went out of town and he was touring, and he asked me to come in and substitute teach. And I was teaching about maybe 5 to 6, 7 lessons a week. That's just guitar lessons. Then a couple years later, after 2 years of not being able to find a job in the fine arts field or anything to do with time-based media, I began to turn the volume up on guitar lessons quite a bit, and I began to take on 55 to 60 students a week. And then a couple years later, I was able to see the Rock Ensemble in Homestead, and from there I just wanted to be a part of that so bad. And that was about another 2 years before I actually got to become the teacher for the original Rock Ensemble in Homestead. When I became the teacher with the original Rock Ensemble in Homestead, one of the major things that I had to accomplish was how to arrange the students together. They had a lot of students that were not necessarily fitting. I came in and I took the top singer from one band and moved her to the top players in another, creating a top band. I took all these boys that wanted to do heavy metal and I put them together, and I started grouping everybody by like their interests and what they were really good at. Incorporating what they want to do is a really big deal, because then they become more successful, as opposed to just somebody else making the decisions and saying, no, you're going to play Black Dog. That's it. You're playing Black Dog, you're playing rock and roll. And they're like, well, we don't really connect with that. Well, I think what we do in Rock Ensemble is an informal based pedagogy, meaning that we're not playing to a standard, we're not playing for juries, we're not playing for MPAs, we're not playing for grades, it's really pure music learning. I think that the beginning phase is that we propose a song, and then we discuss the way that we're going to learn to play it. Some of my students prefer to take an arrangement, and I've had a number of students over the years that prefer not to. Also, sometimes we hit a part that's too difficult on the drums, or we hit a part that's too difficult on the lead guitar, and we alter it. And I think that that is what I mean by informal. That we can make changes because we're not having to adhere to a predetermined standard by somebody else, or what it's supposed to sound like, or what it's supposed to do. And so I think that that is something that maybe schools will begin to develop in their programs, is giving their students a little more ownership, and not necessarily, there's always going to be part of that 200-year-old tradition of what needs to be learned and what needs to be played in music education. But I think that as we move forward, you're going to see more informal practices start to happen, and more informal ideas. You're going to see more rock bands. You're going to see more things towards recording and production. So informal music learning does do listening, does do copying, but it's not limited to what and how you're going to learn. And I think that's the big deal about what Lucy Green was really trying to get at, is that she's saying it's not about one way to learn, it's about all the various ways that popular musicians learn.